I think that the second movie is a new expression of um of the franchise. I think fans are gonna lose their mind. I think they're gonna be really, really excited.
All right, Matthew. Well, I guess I want to start with this. How did, a career filled with horror lead you to creating a macabre?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it is funny. I keep doing these interviews for the launch of Macabre, and I haven't been in that many horror. It just feels like I have. I
Yeah,
did Scream, obviously, which is iconic, and Five Nights at Freddy's is having, it's a whole new renaissance for me, and it's very exciting.
yeah.
Other than that, it's like 13 Ghosts, and, and sort of that's it. That's not that, in terms of like a career of, it's not that much.
Well, don't discount Scooby-Doo, man.
Oh, that's
Don't
right.
dis
There are a lot of horror. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Fair
Totally.
enough.
My bad. But yeah, so it's funny is that though I think probably the lack of work in this industry has led us to create Find Familiar Spirits. So if I backtrack, about 2 years ago, I have a company called Beetle and Grimm's, and we do
Mhm.
high-end box editions for Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
And my buddy Justin Ware is a screenwriter and also the co-founder and co-CEO of Find Familiar Spirits. Called me up, is like, hey, I see what you're doing, delivering these high-end products right to a community, Dungeons and Dragons community. And my other buddy, Tim Sparapani, who has Blue Run, which is a incredibly successful bourbon company, they were selling direct to customer as well. And so Justin said, can the three of us get together and sort of have a conversation? And is there a world in which we create a high-end spirit experience that goes direct to Dungeons and Dragons players? And I jumped at the idea of creating a spirit built for a community that sort of the rest of the industrial world doesn't really focus on, but you give them an opportunity to express themselves by giving them like something that is built for them and luxury product. I think is really powerful. So we launched Quest End October 2nd last year. We've dropped 5 bottles. Dragon's coming out in November. That'll be the fifth bottle, but it's incredibly successful. And the idea, right, is duplicatable. Like you can apply that same idea. Can you find different communities and build bespoke spirit experiences for that community specifically? So you're not trying to get every whiskey drinker out there. You're just trying to get
yeah.
drinkers that love Dungeons and Dragons. Same thing with tequila, right? We're building Macabre Spirits is a love letter to the horror community. We sell you a bottle of tequila, but within that, like that's not enough. Like we have to have a value add to that community. We have to give something back to that community. And for us, that's the written word. I mean, we've with Macabre, we did a collaboration with Mike Flanagan, and he wrote an 80-page book that comes with every single bottle. Um, the story is incredible. The book's terrifyingly good. The tequila is delicious, and it's built for those people that identify as horror fans.
I love that because here's the thing. Look at the box office recently. One of the biggest films of the weekend, Terrifier 3, then Smile 2. And I think it's frustrating when Hollywood is like, well, we got to make something for everybody. We got to
Right.
make something. Why?
Right.
So what you've got, this is a great idea. I mean, it's a really marvelous idea. How did you get the idea of, okay, let's get Mike Flanagan on board with this?
Yeah, I mean, look, I totally agree. Don't go after everyone. Go after very specific demographics and do it in a way that is authentic, right? Not just transacting like I'm gonna slap a skeleton on the side of a bottle and sell you shit. Like
Yeah.
our whole thing is like, what is the authentic approach and what is our value back to people? Yeah, so Mike and I did, we met at a lunch. He and I became like, we immediately hit it off.
Yes.
Great conversation. He's like, one day we're gonna work together. Called me about a year later, 6 months later, and said, come do a Life of Chuck, which is the movie that just premiered at Toronto International Film Festival. It's an adaptation of a Stephen King short story. I jumped into that, had a great experience. And while we were shooting, we were building Macabre. And we knew that we had to launch the brand like a short story, right? Like we have our next author lined up. He's an incredible author. But Mike Flanagan is the modern master of horror, right? So that
Yeah.
doesn't get really any bigger than Mike. And so I just offered him the opportunity, and to his credit, I mean, he jumped at it. I think that he loved the idea of writing like a short, like a novella. He's never
Mm,
written one before, and sort of relished the idea. I think he liked the challenge. It was, we said anywhere between 12 and 15,000 words. He went off and like wrote 80,000. He was like, "Can I go a little longer?" We're like, "Yes, we love you." And he wrote this incredible story that is deliciously good. And it's terrifying. It's really messed up. It's exactly what you want from Mike Flanagan. And our
geez.
hope is that, the community sees us, falls in love with the idea, and jumps on board for the ride.
Do you have like, and I look, you've been having some good times lately. You got the sequel to Five Nights at Freddy's coming out. You got The Life of Chuck, which sounds really interesting to me. Do you plan to, is this something that like, yeah, we could do a lot with this. We could do a Scream type of thing. We could do Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Have you thought of that?
No, sure, yeah, yeah. I mean, we did with Quest End, which is our first brand, we did a collaboration with Critical Role, so that we built an in-world whiskey based on their lore.
Mhm.
There's no doubt that we're sort of inundated with opportunities. For us, we have to figure out ways to deliver something that is authentic, that's just not transacting on people's passions.
Yeah.
But and we think's fun. We're a very tiny company. We're really stretched. We've got season 2 of Quest End coming. We have an entire season of Macabre, which is each one of them is a different expression of blue agave. So we're sort of like, and then we have in 2025 we have a new brand coming. So we are always looking for collaborations that help build our brand, and that we can then lift other people as well. Um,
How did your appreciation for spirits come about? How young were you when you were like, "Oh, I would like to get into this business and
yeah,
creating? Mm,
it's not really my jam at all. I mean, the reality is that I like drinking, but I could live or die. I mean, I could let it go. It's not something in my life that I do very often. And it's so for me, this isn't really what is not the driving force is what we're making, what liquid we're putting in the bottles.
oh,
To
okay.
me, it's seeing a community and like going, oh, it'd be cool, and building some part of like building out. We're a community brand first that adds spirits. So, we have a bunch of new announcements coming up in the new year about how to put people together and sort of creating opportunities like gather in IRL events and in other ways. That to me, that's the interesting part. Look, we're, our whole company is full of creatives and we're all storytellers. And so the
Yeah.
idea of being able to tell stories around brands that's really exciting. What we actually put in the bottles, it's not my jam. We have a master blender who's incredible at what she does. Um,
Yeah.
she curates what we put in bottles, and I'm sort of along the ride for that. But building these communities, building these opportunities, that's the part I think's thrilling.
No, it's really cool. Well, I guess you have the written word with it. Do
Mhm.
you ever see yourself say maybe you make a short film to, or maybe a feature film to Macabre?
We have definitely considered not making a film ourselves, but maybe doing like a film festival and allowing
Mm,
other people to like take a prompt and make a short film, or it's a ways off. We've got to launch the brand. The brand went on sale yesterday, so
hmm.
we really have to establish it. We have to let it grow. We have to let it breathe. We have to figure out if we're speaking to the community in the right way. We have to figure out if they're interested. Like we have so far to go. before we start adding new challenges on board. But our hope
Yeah.
is that, look, in a year from now, we're talking about the success of Macabre Film Festival. And that would be pretty epic.
That would be really cool. That
Yeah.
would be really cool. And so where I guess an important question, where can people get it?
Yeah, at macabspirits.com. We ship direct to your home. I mean, our whole thing is it's becomes an unboxing experience.
Oh,
So the box is incredible. I can't wait for people to see the box. It's pretty magical. And then there's a letter from us, and then the book's included, and the bottle's beautiful and bespoke. And so the whole thing is meant to be a moment that celebrates the thing you love the most.
that's a really great idea, Matthew.
Thanks,
Like
man.
it's a yeah, what and now you mentioned Left Chuck. When is that coming out?
I don't know necessarily. We got picked up by Neon, which is exciting. They're a great distributor.
That's
Um,
great because they're one of I would say between like with modern distribution, Neon and A24 are kind of where it's at right
both,
now.
yeah, they're both killing it. So
Yeah.
we're excited about that. I think that we won the Toronto International Film Festival of the Audience Award. Um,
Nice.
and the last 12 films to win that award have gone on to be nominated for Best Picture. Um,
Oh,
so our hope is that we continue that trend and people fall in love with the film. It's definitely a different movie. The movie is told in reverse chronological order. Um,
okay.
Very different. So it's exciting to sort of let people find it and fall in love with it as audiences in Toronto did.
Nice, nice. And of course, Five Nights at Freddy. What do you expect from that? Like, are you surprised at the success of that film? How people were like really into it?
Yeah, I was. Well, the interesting thing is that I knew it was big because my kids were like, "Dad, you got to." I mean, they
Yeah,
lost their minds.
yeah,
So I knew that there was a fan base for it. I do a lot of cons, and in convention world, like my line went from like 3 hours to 8 hours, like almost overnight. Um, so I was clear how the veracity of this fan base, like how excited they were.
yeah,
Um, And then when the movie came out, I will say this, that I think that we're all surprised that day in and day out, like day and date, meaning it came out on Peacock the same day it came out in theaters, the film still made $300 million worldwide is
yeah.
unheard of. It's just never, it blew out everyone's expectations. So, all that said, I mean, I think that we're thrilled. And I think the second movie, the filmmakers and Scott, who's deeply, deeply connected to the lore and making sure fans are happy. Um, I think that the second movie is a new expression of um, of the franchise. I think fans are going to lose their mind. I think they're going to be really, really excited.
Nice, nice. I guess last question. We've been running. Joe Blow has been talking about. Are you mentioning that you would love to go back to Scream? Is that like? Have you thought about that? Have you talked to people about that? Going in some way,
No,
coming back?
it's so funny how that whole quote like blew up. It's very strange. I listen. I always joke. I would love to go back. Who doesn't want to go back to a horror movie episode? Like who wouldn't want to go back, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it has to make sense. It has to make sense to Kevin. It has to make sense to franchise. The fan. We got to deliver for the fans. Like there's all kinds of reasons. Um, that that, that you would want to go back to do it. That
Yeah.
said, I don't really. The franchise does not need Matthew Lillard clearly, and if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, I was just talking shit.
Yeah,
That's
well, the truth be, it hasn't gotten the Fast and Furious route where people come back from the dead all the time. So no one's actually coming back to dead from the dead and Scream yet.
right,
So
right,
that would be a little bit different.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So what's next for you with Macabre? Like you're releasing it. How are you? Yesterday was the first day. Where are we going now? Like how did you do? How do you feel about the opening day?
Great. I mean, unbelievable. The launch has been fantastic. The reality is that, we're building a brand new brand. that building, anytime you're building a brand, you've got to find the community, you got to make sure you're messaging right and that people we're delivering to people. So yeah, next for us, I mean, we've got two more drops scheduled for the the first season, all sort of expressions of blue agave, which are just different tequilas. We're doing a blanco. This is reposado. It's absolutely delicious. And look, we have to make sure that people like it, that people find it and like it. So, we put it on sale now. It doesn't come out until Q1 of next year.
Yeah.
So we've got some time before it lands. It's definitely a pre-order. And then once it does, we immediately start on the second one. I mean, the story is already being written for the second one. So we're pretty excited to see where it goes.